sign they wouldn't let me bring in. You're supposed to stand up. One of us are I said I have my seat. One of
that was loud.
Wow, that was quite a gap.
Well, you all heard. I'll now call this regular meeting of the Board of Education to order at 7:11 p.m. We'll now take a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to remind the board members to turn on your microphones and speak into them. And would the administrator please call the roll?
Ms. Jackson, Mr. Rollins, Mr. Rollins.
Here.
Mr. Scrivano, Mrs. McCulloch.
Here.
Mr. Siegel.
Here.
Mr. Connor.
Here.
Mr. Escobedo.
Here.
With 6 present, 1 absent, we have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to take a moment to thank the media students who are working with the staff to operate the broadcasting equipment and televise our meeting. That help tonight is from Jonathan Mandugiano. Thank you. And Rod Weddle. Okay. And they both are Jefferson students, and we appreciate your being here. Thank you. Now we'll take a moment to recognize and celebrate outstanding contributions of our students and staff. Mr. Earl Dotson will present.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. Guilford High School students played an integral part in building a home for Rockford area Habitat for Humanity on Pearl Avenue. Mark Anderson's construction students built all of the home's interior and exterior walls. Habitat for Humanity Executive Director Carrie Nelson mentioned Mr. Anderson and RPS 205 students at the dedication last month. She said, "In my world, we call Mark Anderson a hero. He dreamt of a day where students had the opportunity where they could learn how to build a house." Ms. Nelson and Mr. Anderson are both members of an Alignment Rockford Academy support team at Guilford. That's where the idea for the home building project started. Now, there are 16 classes associated with the career pathway, the architecture and construction, which is part of the Emmett Academy at Guilford. Emmett has gone from the smallest academy at Guilford to the second largest in 2 years. Now, Guilford students have started an even bigger project for Habitat. They will build a 2-story home start to finish near the Sandy Hollow Golf Course. Congratulations to our students, and thank you to Guilford teacher Mark Anderson and Habitat's Carrie Nelson for giving our students this opportunity. Please join me in congratulating and thanking this educator and these wonderful students. Librarian Mary Cowing was one of the 26 educators across the country selected to participate in the Teaching with Primary Sources Summer Teacher Institute in Washington, D.C. in July. The prestigious 5-day program is offered through the Library of Congress, the largest library in the world. Cowing was chosen from a pool of more than 300 applicants. The program offered Cowing one of the most incredible experiences of her life. Teachers learn effective practices in teaching with primary sources, which offer a first-person account of history. Teachers can explore the massive online collection of historic artifacts and gain access to millions of primary sources to use in classrooms and school libraries. Cohen works with students at Conklin, Johnson, Kishwaukee, Rolling Green, and Spring Creek schools. We're excited to see how she incorporates her lessons learned in D.C. with her students in Rockford. Please join me in congratulating this wonderful educator for her accomplishment. Thank you. That is all.
Thank you, Mr. Dotson. We're now at the petitions and communications portion of our meeting, when we invite the public to make comments. The First Amendment of the United States Constitution guarantees the right of citizens to petition their government as well as provides for freedom of speech. Also, the Illinois School Code requires that there be a time at regular and special meetings for public comment. Thus, we are following these mandates during this petitions and communications portion of our agenda. According to Board Policy 2.230, the public comments portion of the meeting is limited to a total of 30 minutes. The Board will not respond to comments at this time. If it is appropriate, you will be contacted in a timely manner by staff in response to your questions. In order to allow sufficient time for the business of the Board and to conduct our meeting in an efficient and effective manner, we are requesting that you comply with the guidelines that are posted. And each speaker will be allowed no more than 2 minutes to address the Board. Since tonight we have more than 15 speakers, our Board policy also allows that each speaker will be then limited to 1 minute to address the Board, so that everyone has ample opportunity in that 30-minute time period. It is not appropriate to address individual board members or individual administrators or discuss matters that would otherwise be confidential in such open meetings. 2 names will be called at one time, the one whose turn it is to speak and the person who will speak next. When you are the second person, please come to the front and sit in a vacant chair. That way we'll be able to devote the maximum amount of time to these public comments. I also want to point out a new addition to the boardroom. If you look up on the wall above the administrator's table, you'll see 2 digital clocks. One shows the total time allotted to the public comment, which is the 30 minutes, and one will show the total time for each speaker. So it'll have a 1 minute on there and count down for you. We thank you for your interest and for your cooperation with our guidelines.
Point of order, Board Member McCullough. I would request that we waive the rules, allow the speakers the 2 minutes, and at the 30-minute mark, then we can vote to extend the time.
I think it's a motion. Ms. Jackson, would you like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we waive the rules, that we allow each speaker the 2 minutes at the 30-minute mark. If everyone has not spoken, we can take a vote to extend the time for public comments.
Second.
Pardon?
You need a second?
Would anyone like to second that motion?
Sure. A second.
So would you please take the roll call on the question? And the motion at hand is to allow speakers 2 minutes until we get to 30 minutes, at which time we will stop if all speakers have not spoken. And at that time, someone wished to make an additional motion to extend the speaking time, we can do that. That can be done.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
No.
Mr. Escobedo?
Yes.
The motion passes with 5 yeses, 1 no, and 1 absent.
All right. The first person to speak is Sandy Messer, and the second person will be Mia, Ania, Miranda, and Michaela. And so If you're not up front already, be prepared to come up. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Sandy Messer. I soon will be 71 years old, and I'm still driving a school bus. Not by choice. I don't see retirement in my vocabulary at this time. I'm a grandmother of 9 children, and I have been to work every day for 15 years, except a few days that I was ill. And I am a caregiver to my husband, which his needs are getting more and more, and his supplies are getting more expensive. We have a high-risk, high-stress, high-responsibility job as bus drivers. I am the sheriff on my bus. I try to enforce the rules as best as I can with 50, 60 children and a busy street. I am their nurse when they're on the bus. I'm their security to make them feel safe and protect them from bullying. If they are sick, we clean up the bus and comfort them. We take them to the right stops at the right time and make sure that they get home safely. I'm here for your children, and I would like to say that we have very little respect, and we feel that we really need a fair increase in our wages. We haven't had one for quite a while, and we deserve it because we have a hard job. Thank you.
Thank you. And so that the board can best hear everyone, I'd appreciate that if we be respectful when speakers are speaking so that they're heard in their entirety. Nea, Miranda, and Michaela are next, and Nancy Godowski's on deck.
Hi, I'm a junior. I've been cheering at Guilford for 2 years, and we wrote a letter. These coaches have made such a great impact on our lives. Losing them is more than just losing a coach. So our team is more like losing a family member. They make us love cheerleading, and honestly, we would not be the same without them. We want our coaches back. They are not replaceable. Entering competition season will be so far from exciting or a happy experience for us. It is unfair to us cheerleaders to not be able to enjoy cheer competition season because of what can be a misunderstanding. She has done so much for our team and the school, including raising money for our fellow cheerleader, Olivia Lindbergh, who was in an ATV automobile accident. Our coaches deserve their jobs back. We do not want anyone else. We think Shelley has shown more than just dedication to our cheer family. She has proven to be the best cheer coach for our Rockford High School teams, in our opinion. You're taking so much more from us than just a cheer coach. You're taking our leadership, our spirit, our happiness, our determination, and our legacy. Once you have the best it's possible to replace, please give our coaches back their position.
How many seconds were left? Was there someone else who was going to speak as part of that? How many? 54 seconds left. Go ahead.
My name is Breezy Sylvie, and I am a sophomore, and I've been doing cheer at Guilford for 2 years now. I'd like the board to know Shelley, Aubin, and Nick have been some of our coaches throughout our entire high school experience. We all agree that these three are awesome, amazing, and incredible coaches. RG Cheer and Competition Program has grown so much with Shelley as our coach and is making us continue to grow. Rockford Guilford Cheer is the best cheer team in Rockford. We've been the only ones here to make it to the state competition team in Bloomington for the past 4 years in a row now. Each and every practice, these three have always pushed us and encouraged us to work hard and to do our best every single time. Finding another coach who has as great of a coach as Shelley, Nick, and Aubin and her team is nearly impossible. Not only has she helped hundreds of kids improve in cheerleading, she's also taught us many life lessons. She always knows what to do and how to deal with situations under pressure, and that teaches us how to be strong, to pick up the pieces and move on and come back stronger than ever. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Let's start. Thank you. Nancy Godowski, followed by Madeline Sherrod.
I'm going to cut my speech short so more people can speak. Although I am now a retired paraprofessional, it is my hope the bargaining units this time around will be treated with the same courtesy and respect as administration. It has been noted that many other district employees have been given raises above the state limit of 6%. Since the district has gone above that limit, the district, aka the taxpayers, has to pay a penalty of between $1.3 million and $1.8 million. Just think how much we could use that money for paraprofessionals, bus drivers, and food service people. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Godowski. Madeline Sherrod, followed by Kate Winnicki. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Good evening, everyone. Today it is with a heavy heart that I stand here to tell you that many of the workers that work for nutrition services, paraprofessionals, and bus drivers are living in poverty. It needs to stop now. I am asking you on behalf of the employees that help educate your children, feed your children nutritious meals, and drive the buses that your child takes safely to school and back home, I ask that you would consider it being you in our position. I ask you to think about what we do every day. We put a smile on our face, we encourage children, we feed them, and believe me, when the young lady said about the coaches, look at these young people here. We're the ones that feed them. We're the ones that drive the buses that bring them safely back and forth home. We're the ones that's in the classrooms that help educate them. So I'm asking you, paraprofessionals, bus drivers, nutrition services, we're all for one and one for all.
Kate Winnicki, followed by Joel Cordonier.
I can't understand how being a bus driver with as much responsibility as I have, hauling your children safely to and from school, that you have packed our buses because you have cut the number of routes that we have so that you can give us more children on every bus, and you expect us to get them there safely and on time, and then pick them up from school and take them home safely and on time, and not pay us a living wage while we have to go out and get 2 and 3 part-time jobs to make enough money so we can pay our rent, pay our electric, pay our gas, pay our car insurance so we can get to and from work. You guys are not helping, and you need to step up and pay us what we deserve. We deserve a living wage! A living wage! Not poverty wage! I can't live on the poverty wage you guys are paying me, and I live alone. Imagine all these people raising children on what you guys are paying us. It's not enough. It just is not enough. And you should step up and do it. It's about time.
Joel, followed by Deborah Schultz. Please give him the respect that you gave the previous speaker.
Hi, I'm Joel Cordonier, and I'm currently a freshman at Guilford High School. As an incoming freshman, it was kind of uneasy knowing what was going to happen in high school and joining this newfound sport. Recently, I had been an alternate for another team, and the kind of message they sent was, you can cheer for us, you can pay us, but you're going to work. And it wasn't really some place where I would go and make new friends. It was some place where I would go and learn, which is what I wanted to do at the time. And so going to RG, it was kind of weird not knowing what to expect. It was, okay, what's this team going to be like? And the minute I stepped into that field house, I knew that these were the kind of people I wanted to spend my summer with. These were the kind of people I want to spend 4 years of my life with. This team, these coaches, aren't the type of people that want you to work. Yes, they do want us to be incredible athletes, but they also want to raise our character level and learn how to become a team, not just people that wake up in the morning and grieve over having to go to practice. Because when being a part of this team, I did not mind waking up in the morning and going to 8-hour camps. I loved every minute of it. I love every minute being with this team. And personally, I cannot see this team going on without the 3 coaches. Thank you.
Thank you. Deborah Schultz, followed by Ann Wetziger.
My name is Deborah Schultz. I am speaking as a member of Local 692. I have been a paraprofessional for 20 years in this district this coming November. I serve the youngest children of District 205. I help meet all of their basic needs, just like a mom, for 2.5 hours every day. I am responsible for a clean and organized classroom. I am responsible for keeping 3- and 4-year-olds safe at all times. I prepare materials for the teacher. I teach small groups. I'm considered a teaching partner. I'm expected to learn and understand ELS so that I can help take notes on children's academic and social development. I enter those notes into the computer. I am expected to know the rigorous expectation of ECHRS. I am asked to take part in professional development and do numerous other duties every single day. And there is a huge disconnect between what the district needs of me and what you are willing to pay me. I make $14.87 an hour before deductions after 20 years of service. 20 years of increased knowledge and conscientious service. This is only approximately $4 more than a new hire. This tells me paras are not respected or recognized as vital. Opening our paychecks is like a waitress finding a penny tip. A clear message her service is unappreciated and misunderstood. My fellow professionals and I are on the front lines with the kids. We make a difference in their learning and in their school experience. Give us a decent living. It seems your votes pass many other ways to spend taxpayer dollars that don't necessarily serve our children. My example would be all the millions spent on new gymnasiums to align with the city's plan to bring in sports teams. After all, buildings are only buildings without staff. Staff teach, buildings don't teach.
Thank you. Ann, followed by Judy Parks.
Hello, I'm Ann Wenziker. I have been with the Nutrition Services for 11 years, and I am the manager of the McIntosh Elementary School. As a manager, we do everything from ordering the foods, prepping the food, registering, running the register, cleaning up, serving, and the paperwork. We are the first and front line to the parents. We get yelled at by the parents because we are rushing their children through the breakfast line because their children are just lazily going through, not taking what they need as fast as they should, not knowing their numbers, having to look up their numbers, and then the parents yell at us because we're rushing them. We do the monitoring of the lines, and we have to serve these children their food, making sure that they hit all the state mandates, making sure that they get the right amount of food, and then arguing with the children because they're not taking what we told them to take. We give them choices, but yet they still fight with us. And we have to watch out for food allergies because there are many children that still want to take something that they know that they are allergic to, and it could be a life-threatening situation. We do not get paid for the holidays or the summers. And I'll tell you, I worry at those times, am I going to be able to make my next mortgage?
Thank you. Judy Parks, followed by Natalie Casarato.
Hi, I'm Judy Parks, a 15-year school bus driver, and I'm here to ask cost of living raise. It's been 3 contracts, 9 years since we have had any kind of raise. And I know the board doesn't want to negotiate with the raises. However, it's very hard to find good bus drivers. You get what you pay for. We have a split shift. Sometimes there could be 5 hours in between. The drivers can't go home because maybe they don't have that extra vehicle. They don't have the gas to travel back and forth, and so they stay there waiting to start their afternoon shift. There is no unemployment in the summer, and we have a week off at Easter, 2 weeks at Christmas, extra holidays, and so it's really hard to get a 10-day paycheck. And expected to come in early to get the buses started and warmed in the winter. That's our time. You only get paid from your bid time. And so we feel that driving with the cell phone issue, people still drive with their cell phones. We can see the lights on in the car. And that they're looking down in there, so they're not paying attention. So we have to pay extra attention because somebody's always pulling out in front of us on their cell phone. All we ask is to consider a cost of living raise this time for us. Dr. Jarrett got a bonus and a raise, which he so deserved. However, he was at our meeting and told us bus drivers what a very good job we did and how they appreciate us. Well, show us that we need the appreciation in the form of money that can pay our bills, not a pat on the head. And so, and you have the 30% budget overage. Now's the time to step up and help with the people that deal with the most precious gift there is, your children.
Thank you. Natalie Casarato, followed by Joanne Benson.
Am I supposed to go? I'm sorry. Thank you for your time. I'm in support of our Guilford coaches. They are not just our coaches, they are our family to all of us and to all these athletes here. This is my child's second year. She spends 5 days a week, 15 plus hours doing this sport. It's not an easy sport. The amount of time and dedication is insane. Somehow these 40 strangers come together every year from different backgrounds that wouldn't even normally speak to one another. By the end of the season, these athletes come together and are friends and become a family, and it shows. They've gone to state 5 years in a row. There is no possible way that these kids could pull off what they do without these coaches and coming together and the discipline and obedience that they obey by. These athletes are held to the highest standard, and they learn by example from the mentors, their coaches. Thank you.
Thank you. Joanne, followed by Charlotte Singletary.
Hello, my name is Joni Bessanen, and I'm a second-year para at Risa Middle School. I work in a self-contained special education classroom with children who have many challenges. From autism to cerebral palsy, our kids have problems that many of you could not even imagine. This is by far the most difficult job I have ever had. I give 110% every day to make sure these kids have the best education possible. Some of these kids are nonverbal, can't read, can't write, can't walk, but we never give up on them. I would invite any of you to come walk in our shoes for a day to see exactly what our job entails. We are chronically short-staffed. We forfeit our breaks in order to meet our student needs. In my class, we have 2 students in wheelchairs, 5 students who require hand-over-hand writing assistance, 4 who need diapering, and 2 who are nonverbal, and 1 who is violent. Needless to say, it's not humanly possible to do all this, but we do our best every day. It's not fair to the kids, the teachers, or us paras. I'm fortunate. This job is my semi-retirement job. I don't depend on my salary to pay my rent or buy food for my family. I'm not one paycheck from disaster. I think it's morally wrong to expect the people who teach our children to live on starvation wages and rely on public assistance to meet the needs of their own family's basic needs while educating your children. While Rockford has one of the biggest school districts in the states, its paras are one of the lowest paid. I saw an ad in the newspaper for a new hire para in Aurora, $15.53 an hour. I checked Schaumburg, Moline. Every district I checked pays more than Rockford. No wonder we can't attract and keep good people. The district keeps telling us they don't have enough money to pay us more. We all know this is just not true.
Joni,
aren't
thank you.
our kids worth more?
And Joni, I do apologize for pronouncing your name incorrectly. Charlotte is next, followed by Kristen Molly or Molly. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Charlotte Singletary, and I am an RPS school bus driver. I would like to speak for a brief moment on behalf of the bus drivers. School bus drivers of RPS 205 are a vital source of transportation to our children and our grandchildren's education. And our goal is to do our part in helping you to build a strong and successful school district. From the time our children and grandchildren leave home in the morning until they arrive safely at school, bus drivers become surrogate parents. Our number one concern is their safety. So we are careful to be aware of any suspicious activity or suspicious individuals at each and every stop. We are quick to report such activity to dispatch for a resolution. We even report loose dogs that can have a tendency to be vicious. We nurture the children, mentor them, nurse them, counsel them, teach, and chauffeur them. There are even unfortunate times we have to initiate disciplinary action by writing minor and major referrals that rarely get answered. We do everything a parent does. We wear those many hats with pride. Are we not deserving of a matching wage? While going back to school for further education, as many have done, is an option to achieving better wages for the school district, it creates the issue of recycling. This means replacing good drivers who have to find other jobs that will feed their families. Is this what we really want for our children, for our grandchildren, for ourselves? The worry of constant change and unfamiliar faces? Stop the cycle of the revolving door. Show us that we are worth more.
Thank you. Kristen, followed by Amber Winterwood.
Hi, my name is Kristen. I'm a self-contained para at RISA, and I have been for 6 years. During the DLM pre-post testing and substitutes, we teach the class by following the lesson plans. We deal with bodily fluids such as BMs, urine, drool, spit, blood, and periods. We follow feeding plans from tube to parade to all the way to solids. We have to watch for aspiration signs. We follow seizure plans, time them, mark down, mark down each action for the nurse. Hand-over-hand instruction with 2 or more students at once. We lift and change students' diapers from the ages 5 to 21. We also follow toileting plans. We get hit, kicked, spit at, cursed at, and more. We just have to redirect them. There are paras that will not help us. They say that's CNA work. We have to learn how to communicate with their picture books, sign language, verbal gestures, or Tobies. And if they have a Toby, we have to learn how to use it. We do not get both of our 10-minute breaks. If lucky, we sometimes get one of them. We work 8 hours and 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week. That's a total of 40 hours a week. We are at your schools with your children. You expect us to work a second job after 8 hours a day just to live? I have a second job for the summer, winter, and spring breaks. Unfortunately, they would not continue to hold it for me in between. There are times we don't get our breaks or our lunches due to short staff or classroom needs. There is more that we do, of course, but my time is limited. Why do I do my job even though it's not worth the pay? I love and care enough about these students that I don't want them to get mistreated.
Thank you. Amber, followed by Lori Rigotti.
Hello, my name is Amber. I don't need a review. You guys know our job descriptions, but I am one of the rare ones that work here. You have a lot of staff that come to work for you because you have us over a barrel. You have great insurance. That's why most of us are here. It's a school district. You guys know that. But when I came working here, I left a great job as a massage therapist, which I'm wonderful at, but I came for your insurance. But when I got in here, I thought, you know what, I'm going to stand up for these people that don't have an education, or the ones that do that are afraid to speak. We need to get paid fair. We know that you guys have the money, and we also hear all the time, it's our precious cargo. You guys are hauling them around. Well, pay us. You guys are scraping the bottom of the barrel right now in Rockford trying to get drivers. Give us what we need. We know you have the money. That's all we want. We want to raise. We want to be accounted for. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori, followed by Holly Lotharp.
Good evening. I'm here in support of our Guilford coaches, Shelley, Nick, and Aubin. They've been wonderful role models for our kids. I've been on a short time. I recently was at a spirit evening where I saw a young lady who had just started with our team just for a short time, for a few days. She, for some odd reason, didn't want to participate, and I saw that they tried to encourage and say, we're having a great night tonight, why don't you participate? It was all going to be a big group of, grades and all of our fall sports teams. So she was there encouraging the student to participate in that evening, and it didn't quite work out that way, but I don't know. She's always been there for us and for the kids. She's encouraging. She's always trying to, bring everybody together. And the kids really have shown that they're all here for all of them. They just want them back. And I just, hopefully you'll consider that tonight, that she's there for everybody. She gives everybody the same opportunity. There's not one that gets specialized treatment over another. And we just really want to thank them, and hopefully they're watching tonight, so we hope that we get you back.
All right. Thank you. Holly, followed by Robbie Davison.
Good evening, board members. I am an early childhood paraprofessional. I'm also an active member in the local Union 692. As a hardworking employee, I'm highly concerned about the challenges I face and my brothers and sisters here regarding our fair livable wages, insurance costs, and other rights and expectations in our contract. I did a lot of research, and currently under our contract, I make about $11.50 a month, $1,150 a month after my health insurance deduction. The U.S. Census Bureau website says an average family is 3.3 people, and that the National Association of Realtors, that an average mortgage is $1,061 per month. My average cost of utilities found with the U.S. Department of Energy averages about $220 a month, and we're talking individual rates. I'm not talking families of 6 or 3, the 3-point average here. The average cost per month just to fill my gas tank is about $80 a month, including oil. That's not the cost of insurance. It's not the cost of homeowners insurance. It's not the clothes on my back. It is not TV. It is not cell phone. An average cost for an individual for groceries is $220 a month. I have 6 members in my family. I can't meet that. My phone bill for a landline alone is $25. After these basic expenses are totaled at the end of the month, I am negative $1,200. That's not including what I just told you, all the extras. How am I supposed to do this? The only reason I do this is because I have a wonderful husband that helps bring an additional income into my household. I can only survive. I can't imagine a single parent surviving on this. They can't. Please negotiate with us on making a livable wages for our nutritional services, our bus drivers, and our paraprofessionals. Thank you.
So Robbie is the last speaker within our 30-minute time frame here. Board members, I would just say to you that we only have 4 additional speakers. I'll just ask for your permission to allow that to continue. Do we need to vote?
Don't need a motion.
I do need a motion.
I make a motion that we extend the public comments to allow the remaining 4 individuals to speak tonight.
Second.
Okay. Would you call the roll?
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Escobedo?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
Great. Thank you so much, board members. So, Robbie, you're up, and on the docket is Kiara Primer.
My name is Robbie Davison. I am an RPS 205 bus driver for 8.5 years. I'm also the treasurer of our local 1275. I don't think most of you really understand the kind of responsibility that all of us bus drivers assume when we get on that big 40-foot yellow bus and transport anywhere from 20 to 60 children for 2 different schools in the morning and 2 different schools in the afternoon. You've heard what we do. We have to be parents, we have to be sheriffs, we have to be medical assistants, we have to watch for bullying. And not only do we have to do that, we have to drive safely through Rockford streets in the morning at rush hour and in the evening at rush hour. It is not an easy task to do this. You have to love to drive, and you have to love these children. I never had any children of my own. Working for the school district has made me realize what I have missed and how I have been able to get to know these children and appreciate what it is to be a parent. I am in the middle of negotiations. I came to work for the school district for the insurance and for the pay, yes. Now, we're looking at being steered away from one insurance product to another by exorbitant rates. We need an increase in pay, and we need our insurance to stay where it is. Please, please, help us.
Thank you, Robbie. Chiara, followed by Angelica Jabaccio. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kyra Primer. I've been on Rockford Guilford Cheer for 2 years. Before I started cheer, I never really felt a part of something. But after I started cheer, I've grown to love who I am, and I found people who love me for who I am. This is the best team I've ever been on, and it's all thanks to my coaches and teammates for building this family. I have so much pride wearing this cheer jacket because I love being a part of this program. I just ask that you bring our coaches back because we love them, and more importantly, they love us. Our coaches have not just made us better athletes, they have made us better people. We're not just a cheer team, we're a family. Thank you.
Amen. Angelica, followed by Breezy. Breezy, did you step up earlier? Yes. So the last then is Peggy Shamank. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Angelica Gelasio, and I have cheerleaders on the Rockford team. And I've had them on there for 3 years, and they absolutely love their coaches. They do work hard, and they do make them work hard. It teaches them character, and they love it. They don't complain about it. However, I do believe that Shelley has brought more success to Rockford Guilford cheer team than most Rockford high schoolers have taken our team, which includes taking our team to Rockford or to state competitions and stuff. This, along with their dedication and loyalty to the children that we have, proves that she should be eligible for reinstatement. I know that she's already proved to us that she has been a great leader to our kids and is able to take our children to a successful cheer season. I think that if nothing else, that maybe they should allow her to at least finish out this year. I think that the children going into the competition season just wouldn't be the same, and their spirits wouldn't be the same entering with someone new.
Thank you. And so I have Peggy, and I'm just confirming that Breezy has already spoke, right? Yeah, just you stepped up earlier. Thank you. Okay, Peggy?
Hi, I'm Peggy Shamaro, and I'm a parent of a cheerleader, and I'm here to ask the board to reinstate our coaches. I did not plan on speaking tonight, but after I have seen this whole situation handled so poorly and disrespectfully to our children, I decided to come and speak. I could be here speaking about all the negative aspects of the situation, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to focus on the positive, which is our coaches and our team. I just want you to know that this is not just a cheer team, it's a family, and these kids are working hard towards their competitive season. Many of you kids, I don't know if you realize, they're focusing, they're relying on this for scholarships, and this is part of their lives. This isn't just, an after-school program sport. This is their lives, and so I really don't believe that this team could continue without their coaches. When my daughter came from middle school to high school, and she was not sure if she's going to continue with cheer, but when she found out who the coaches were, she decided she was going to continue because she likes that competitive aspect of this. I really think at this point, just to put in anybody to babysit them pretty much, because they're not going to get these certified coaches, these excellent coaches, human beings who have made them great athletes and responsible students and humans. So I'm here to ask the board respectfully to please reinstate these coaches because it's everything for this team and for these children and for us parents who have sacrificed our time also, money and everything. This is not a cheap sport. And I just want you, I think that the school has not given the respect these children really, really deserve. So thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to say thank you to everybody who took the time to come here and to speak and prepare your remarks and to be lenient with me on the pronunciation of your names. We're now at the consent portion of our agenda. Are there any board member comments? My apologies if I oversight. Seeing none, we'll move to the consent portion of our agenda. This includes the consent items, meeting minutes of 9/1/16, the special board meeting on August 23rd of 2016, 12/15/15 special board meeting revised, accounts payable, payroll, purchase orders, contracts under $10,000, construction and bid pay request log, travel, bid recommendations, A, the RFP 1631 for workers' compensation, B, RFQ 1667, the commissioning agent services, the recurring contracts, recurring agreement for the Title I after-school services at Ellis, the recurring contract with Theodore Stavru for Federal Arts Grant Teaching Artist Services, the certified special education teacher at Kennedy Middle School, the certified special education teacher at Wilson Aspire through Cumberland Staffing, and the Kennedy Middle School was through Sunbelt, the certified special education teacher from Cumberland Staffing for Riverdale, and that's teacher number 3, the ILC addendum, which is special education services for students under an EIA S3. Other consent items to include the grant acceptance of the Illinois Department of Human Services Maternal Infant Early Childhood Home Visiting Grant, the Freedom of Information log, and the Education Interpreters Association Collective Bargaining Agreement. Is there a motion and a second to approve the consent items?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any consent items that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Ms. Jackson?
8B, please.
8B, the commissioning agent services. Anyone else? I'm going to ask to have other consent. 10C, Education Interpreters Association Collective Bargaining Agreement pulled. Seeing no others, please call the roll on the approval of the consent items not pulled.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Escobedo?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
For the items that we've pulled, Ms. Jackson, we'll start with yours, RFQ 1667, Commissioning Agent Services. I'll take a motion.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
And discussion? Questions? Seeing none, please call the roll. Oh, Mr. Siegel? No. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Escobedo?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson? No. Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
The motion passes with 5 yeses, 1 no, 1 absent.
Thank you. The other item pulled was the Educational Interpreters Association Collective Bargaining Agreement, and I ask Ms. Hoadley to speak to the changes in that agreement. I need a motion and a second before we can do that.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded, and if you would speak to that.
All right, there are some language changes in the draft agreement that's up for tonight's ratification by the board, or approval by the board. The changes include under wages, adding an additional step. Currently, the contract has 20 steps, which means it recognizes 20 years of service. And so the addition would be a step 25 for those who have 25 years of service, they would receive an increase. Otherwise, the other employees move through the current steps of the contract. The other change is a change to the insurance, and so that would change the rates to reflect the same as what the teachers are currently paying. And to give you a sense as to what that is that if you're on the PPO 500 deductible plan, the employee's contribution over 9 months, which covers 12 months of actual coverage, insurance coverage, but over 9 months, an employee would pay $175.98 per month. And that is for the non-wellness incentive. If they're on the non-wellness incentive, they would pay $153.98 per month. In contrast, the board for employee-only insurance, non-wellness, would be $483. So essentially, it's 20% of the cost of what the actual plan costs. And then $505.94 is what the board's contribution to the premium would be for the wellness premium. And if you look at family coverage, the employee would be paying $544.47 per month for the family, which is 20% of the actual cost. And so the employer's contribution to the premium would be $1,497.31. For the wellness part, the employee would be paying $476.42 per month for family, and that would be the PPO $500 deductible plan. The employer's contribution for that would be $1,565.36 per month. The PPO $1,000 deductible plan, the employee would be paying $62.88 per month, and the employer would be paying $765.32 per month for employee-only coverage. And the wellness component, the employee's contribution towards the premium is much lower. That's $47.16 per month for employee-only coverage, while the employer's premium contribution is $781.04 per month for the PPO 1000 wellness component. When you look at the family coverage, it would be $278.81 per month for the employee under the PPO 1000 deductible plan, and the employer's contribution, in contrast, would be $2,281.67. As far as the wellness, if they take the wellness incentive, the family coverage would be $218.20 per month. That would be the employee premium. And the employer's contribution towards that premium then, or towards the overall health insurance premium, would be $2,342.28. There were no changes to the HSA plan, and so what that shows is the premiums are $0 per month. Employees don't pay anything for the HSA for the premiums. The employer's contribution to the HSA account for employee only would be $650 if they participate in the wellness incentive program. If they choose not to participate in it, the employer would contribute $400 per month towards the employee's HSA account. And then for family, if the employee participates, again, the premium is still $0 per month. But if they participate in the wellness portion of it, the employer would contribute $1,500 a month towards their HSA account. And if they don't participate with family coverage, it would be $800 a month is what the employer would contribute in their HSA account. I will say the HSA accounts do have a maximum coverage or maximum exposure for out-of-pocket costs for employees. So all in, an employee, if they had family coverage, would pay a maximum of $5,000 a year. All in for employee-only coverage, the employee would pay a maximum of $3,000 for coverage.
And this contract is for 2 years?
The contract is for 2 years.
And I have one question because it comes up at events all the time. When we hire hearing interpreters to sign, for example, at our events, I looked through here and I'm sure it's here and I've just missed it, but what is the max amount of time that they can be present before the audience before they need a break? Because I think that's written in the contract here somewhere.
No, it isn't. It isn't, but best practice would say when you're concentrating and translating, it's usually 30 minutes. So we usually try to change over after 30 minutes of constant interpretation.
Okay, so any event that's more than 30 minutes would have 2 interpreters?
Yes.
Okay. Seeing no other lights or questions, I'll ask the coordinator to call the roll.
Mr. Escobedo?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson? Yes. Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mrs. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
Thank you. We are now at the closed session consent agenda, including the closed session consent items, the appointment of Pilar Pei as a 10-month assistant principal of speech and language, the appointment of Ashley Carlson as a 10-month assistant principal, the appointment of Michelle Jar as internal auditor, and the HR organizational report and addendum. The closed session consent items for student discipline. Student discipline in which expelled or suspended students are prohibited from being on school grounds and school-sponsored activities without the prior written permission of the principal. GDM 400116 and GDM 400216 are expelled for the entire 2016-2017 school year. The expulsion for GDM 200116 and GDM 200216 are held in abeyance contingent upon an expulsion and abeyance agreement for the first and second trimesters of the 2016-2017 school year. Closed session consent items, the EIAs for student discipline, GDM 300116, GDM 300216, GDM 300416, and GDM 300816. Is there a motion and a second to approve the closed session consent agenda items?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any items that board members would like to have pulled for separate consideration? Ms. Jackson?
11E and all. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at an old. What is it? D. 11D and all of 12, please.
Please call the roll on the approval of the closed session consent items not pulled.
Ms. Jackson? Yes. Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mrs. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Escobedo?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent.
I will now take a motion for 11D, the HR organizational report and addendum.
Second.
Moved and seconded. There is no discussion, so would you please take the roll?
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Abstain.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Escobedo?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
No.
The motion passes with 4 yeses, 1 no, 1 abstain, and 1 absent.
I'll entertain a motion for number 12, the closed session consent items, the student discipline.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Again, no discussion, so would the coordinator please take the roll?
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Escobedo?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Abstain.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
The motion passes with 5 yeses, 1 absent, and 1 abstain.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the superintendent's report. Dr. Jarrett.
I do not have a report this evening. Thank you.
And we thank you for rushing to be back here in time for the meeting. It was appreciated. Number 15 on our agenda is the committee reports, and I would be Education Committee. We have not met since the previous meeting. We will meet in this room next week, Tuesday at 5:30. And Mr. Rollins, is there a Finance Committee report?
There is. Finance Committee met in this room last night at 5:30, so this is 2 nights in a row for some of us.
Thank you.
It was a relatively short agenda, but with some important items. The first thing we did was go through in quite a bit of detail the mechanics of how the county calculates the limiting factor on property taxes, local property taxes, which is interesting, informative, and I think a good overview for the entire committee, which then led into a specific discussion about our next levy, the 2016 levy, and specifically we were looking at what potentially the district could do for its next levy, and whether or not we could take under PTEL, under the property tax, what's commonly referred to as the property tax cap statute, we can increase the levy by up to the Consumer Price Index, CPI. We can also, outside of increasing it by CPI, we can increase the levy based upon new property. And this year, and this is a little bit unusual, we have 3 TIF districts that have ended, and we will have about $11 million of property that is coming onto the tax rolls that we have not been allowed to tax previously because they were part of a tax, not the property, but the increment in the value of the property. So that's an additional amount of property that we could tax if we wanted to. There was quite a bit of discussion. I won't say quite a bit, but there was discussion by the committee about what the sense of was, what the recommendation or the consensus of the committee was for what we should do with our 2016 levy. And, the discussion was that we do have a very high tax rate in the city of Rockford. And we are, after many years, and I think 8 years at this point, 7, 8 years of declining property values, we have finally turned a corner, and our equalized assessed valuation for the district is now has gone up 3% this year for the first time since the Great Recession of 2008 hit. And if we want that property tax rate to go down, it is important that the taxing bodies try to hold the line on their tax levies. So the consensus of the committee, which I'm reporting, is the recommendation that the district try to hold the line on its levy for the next year, its next levy, freeze the levy, and hopefully if the district does that and if other taxing bodies also do that, and I should note that Mr. Bionda, who sits on the county board, is part of our committee, and he noted that the county has already made that decision for the county, that we will in fact start to see the tax rate go down, which I think would be great news for everybody who lives in the district in the city of Rockford.
Thank you for that report. When does your committee meet again?
Well, it's the first Monday of October, whatever that date is, at 5:30 p.m. here. I apologize, there was another item on the agenda. We did go through the fourth quarter treasurer's report. which is still a little bit of a work in process. We're still working on the format a little bit, but we did go through the fourth quarter of the last fiscal year 16, and that's something that you can also go to the library under the Finance Committee if you're interested and take a look at that. We used to get, I think, monthly reports, which weren't really all that useful because all it did was report more or less on a cash basis where we were every month. And I think this format is going to be a lot more informative for the board and will give us a better sense of where we're actually at as we go through the year.
Thank you again. Mr. Connor, could you proceed with an Operations Committee report?
Operations Committee met on Tuesday, September 6th at 6:30 at our normal time. Amongst the things that came up tonight, and I won't go through them again, there was discussion on the workers' compensation RFP and the reasons to renew with the current company, and there were no questions. And the Smith-Seckman-Reed contract, which is the commissioning, had also a fair amount of conversation, and the reasons why that was advantageous. We also went through the Larson and Darby contract for the theatrical rigging and curtains for 4 high schools and 4 middle schools, with just a little bit of conversation. Most of the conversation, and there was a great deal of it, probably an hour and 15 worth, was on the design of the new elementary schools. And there was a lot of feedback on that, so everybody felt fairly strongly, and there was a consensus of board members, there were 4 board members at this meeting, that there was one aspect of the 85,000 square foot new schools that should be reconsidered, which would be the kindergarten portion, roughly 10% of the square footage, and to do a redesign on that. I believe we have set up a special operations meeting on Tuesday, September the 20th at 6:30, and I'm not sure which room. I don't know if we have set that yet. Oh, okay, the conference room here in the back on the 3rd floor. And the purpose of that meeting is to walk through the initial design, or the redesign, I should say, of the kindergarten area. That's the main agenda item. So that, again, is open to the public. And one question, we did get a master plan update on the facilities. We are under budget and ahead of schedule on that. On the building disposition, that did give an update on that, and what we're going to do is replicate what we did for Walker School, which is we'll hold open meetings with the local communities, neighborhoods at each of the schools that are scheduled to be closed, and we will find that same basic process will be followed, which is normally having at least 2 meetings with the community for each school. And there is, as an update, an intergovernmental agreement, or IGA, that is in process with the city of Rockford regarding the disposition of the Walker School, which was how we left that. So that is proceeding, and when there is news on that, we will come back. So the next meeting, which is a special meeting, will be on the 20th of September, and I believe our next regular meeting is the first Tuesday in October, which I think is the 5th, maybe? 4th. Yeah, 4th, and it is at 6:30. The Operations Committee is now meeting at 6:30.
What time is your meeting on the 20th?
6:30.
6:30? Because there is the Ed Committee
Education
meeting
Committee, I know
here,
is-
and there's 2 board members who...
Yep, I know that. It was the only night we could do it, so.
All right, thank you for your reports. We're now on to the action items for tonight's meeting. Our first item tonight is the Certified Speech and Language Pathologist Consulting Agreement with J. Pick. Is there a motion and a second to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions or discussion? Would coordinator please call the roll?
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Escobedo?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson? Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
The motion passes with 5 yeses, 1 absent from the vote and 1 absent.
Our next item is the Maxim Healthcare Services. Is there a motion and a second to approve Maxim Healthcare Services?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. And are there any questions or discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask the coordinator to please call the roll.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Escobedo?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson? Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
The motion passes with 5 yeses, 1 absent from the vote and 1 absent.
Our third item is the Lynn Liston contract. Is there a motion and a second to approve the Lynn Liston contract?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask the coordinator to call the roll.
Mr. Escobedo?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson? Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
The motion passes with 5 yeses, 1 absent from the vote and 1 absent.
Fourth action item is the interagency agreement between the Rockford Housing Authority and the Rockford Public Schools. Is there a motion and a second to approve the interagency agreement between Rockford Housing Authority and Rockford Public Schools?
So moved.
Second.
And are there any questions or discussion? Mr. Connor?
Just one quick comment. We said this before, but this is a great effort and really think that we'll both save money and set the pace for cooperation amongst agencies. And so, again, kudos to staff for bringing this one forward, and good job. Thank you.
Mr. Escobedo?
We had asked if we had done due diligence to check into the legalities and so forth when working into other agencies. Have we done that? And are we? Just to make sure that, I think one of the questions I had, if we're receiving, for example, savings on certain items and whatnot, are all the legalities covered when working in an agreement like this?
Yes, with this particular agreement, it is within the boundaries of the law and what we're allowed to do.
Okay, seeing no more questions, I would ask the coordinator to call the roll on the interagency agreement between the Rockford Housing Authority and the Rockford Public Schools.
Ms. Jackson? Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Escobedo?
Yes.
The motion passes with 5 yeses, 1 absent from the vote and 1 absent.
Our final 4 action items are all real estate purchases. Would it be the board's wish to vote on these separately or take them together?
Together.
Together is what I'm seeing. So is there a motion and a second to approve items 16E through 16H real estate purchases as listed on the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. And are there questions or discussion? Seeing none, I would ask the coordinator to call the roll.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Escobedo?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson? The motion passes with 5 yeses, 1 absent from the vote and 1 absent.
We're going to move on to the new business. Ms. Cyrus will be presenting our first 2 items. However, the administration is requesting that the board suspend the rules to consider the first one, item 17A, and that is special education, private and residential placement contracts. Is there a motion and a second to suspend the rules for the board to consider 17A?
So moved.
Second.
We can now have a discussion on that because of the board policy has changed. So could we have an explanation as to why we're being asked to suspend the rules?
So as indicated in the executive summary, this is a placement for a student, and it's contingent. His placement takes place October 3rd, and they won't accept him until they have a payment in order for them to hire staff that they can get trained in order to be ready to meet his needs. So in order for me to meet that demand, I needed to ask for those rules to be suspended.
Just to add to this, I have to be really careful so I don't disclose student identifiable information, but this particular student, we've had a lot of difficulty finding a placement for the student because of the student's significant needs. And so we have been fortunate enough now to find a location which will accept the student, and so we just found it, and so this is being brought to you.
Would the coordinator please call the roll? On suspending the rules, we need a 2/3 majority to do so.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Escobedo?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson? Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Okay.
The motion passes with 5 yeses, 1 absent from the vote, and 1 absent.
And now I would entertain a motion and second to approve the special education private and residential placement contract.
So moved.
Are there any question or discussion? The coordinator, please call the roll.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Escobedo?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson? Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mrs. McCulloch?
Yes.
The motion passes with 5 yeses, 1 absent from the vote, and 1 absent.
Thank you. Next item under new business is staff rehab contract, and that's for school social worker. And Ms. Cyrus, you're going to present. Thank you so much.
So this, the week before school started, we learned that one of our social workers had resigned and taken a job in another district, ran the advertisement for several rounds, and had no applicants apply internally or locally, so that's when we started seeking a contracted speech, or social work, sorry, I'm used to saying speech. Social work services. So that's what this contract is. It is, can't remember, I think it's the hourly rate. I was trying to remember what.
Oh, okay.
It's like $69 an hour. Yes, it's for $91,000 a year, and it's figured at an hourly rate. And it will service 2 schools, Gregory and Ellis Elementary School.
Any other question? Mr. Rollins?
My only question is if we're suddenly and unexpectedly down a social worker, I assume that means we're short a social worker. Why are we not asking to suspend the rules and to get this in place?
Because with this particular contract, I was able, in the under $10,000 contract, it came through tonight under $10,000, and this is the remainder, so that person has gone through onboarding and started, and we can wait for the rest of the contract until the 2 board meetings.
So the $91,000 is in addition to whatever you have in the under 10?
Inclusive with the $10,000.
That'll come back for a vote at our next meeting. Third item under new business is the contract with the College Board for SAT Suite Services. And Dr. Wolf, would you please share with us?
Thank you very much. We are asking for your permission to engage in this testing for 8th through 11th grade students. It would provide data sources to help students transition from 8th to 9th grade that we know is extremely important. It would provide ongoing annual assessment 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, including national merit qualifying testing. And as you know, the state moved from ACT to SAT testing, and this would be in line with that. to provide all of the testing for all of the students in those grade levels, it would be $50,833.50.
Mr. Connor?
Interestingly enough, I got a question from a student who asked me why we and the state moved from the ACT to the SAT. So it was a very good question. Junior at Guilford, good question.
It's excellent, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm asking you.
Sure. The state's contract with ACT expired. They did an RFP for a college admissions test, and SAT won the contract. So it's a state-level decision by the Illinois State Board of Education.
Are there any implications to it? Because obviously the basis for ACT and SAT are different. So is there any impact?
Certainly, we're going to be working with 21st Century, started working this past summer with students to prepare for SAT rather than ACT testing. So that implication, Illinois and actually most Midwestern colleges and universities are working to communicate with prospective students about SAT as an entrance exam rather than ACT. But we don't have a choice in the state level decisions, so we're trying to help our students prepare for that.
Mr. Rollins?
I think I might have just heard you answer my question. So it was my understanding the move to the SAT. ACT was a state contract, SAT is a state contract, so the state is actually paying for the SAT exams. This is something supplemental to the actual giving of the exams, or what exactly is this?
So the state is required under federal law to do an exam at least once in the high school level. So the 11th grade SAT will meet that requirement for the federal requirement. We also have state requirements to do a universal screener. This will serve that purpose, as well as a hodgepodge of other assessments that we've done, from CFA's common formative assessments, DBQs, document-based questioning assessments, a variety of benchmarks and interim assessments, and put all students on a level playing field for assessment, which will help teachers make better instructional decisions, the curriculum department be able to see the general flow of what curriculum and instruction is doing, and help parents communicate with their students as they matriculate from 8th grade through 11th grade and prepare for college admissions test.
So that was a yes?
I didn't understand that.
So the question was, the state is paying for actually administering the SAT exam, and this is supplemental to that, and was that a yes? No?
And,
Maybe?
well, it's
possibly.
It helps prepare students for that, but it has a lot of other purposes, I guess is what I...
So in a nutshell, since we have never administered the SAT before to our students, the high school administrators and school improvement teams inquired after we presented to the high schools in the summertime at their boot camps with the college board presenting what the SAT is all about. How can we prepare our students for this assessment in the spring? And the PSAT is essentially a pre-SAT. It allows us to deliver an SAT exam, you'd say supplementally, to our students in the fall, so they can prepare through a personalized pathway the College Board has set up for each student based on their results throughout the year during our normal preparation activities, whether it be tutoring sessions or a Saturday enrichment activity or sessions at the school. So the idea is that we are administering the PSAT to all of our 9th, 10th, and 11th graders in the fall to help them see what the SAT is all about before juniors take the exam for the state in the spring, and allow them a pathway for practice individually between the fall and the spring. And that's the idea behind this. The assessment also serves other functions. There are recommendations for potential AP proficiency based on these assessment results. There's an idea that we can measure growth between each measure as we go along, and it recommends potential career and college pathways for students through their counselors and through a portal to the student and their families.
So I would say to you that at our last board meeting, we were brought Edmentum, and one of the things that Edmentum does is provides background and testing or preparation for the SAT. That's what we were told, but then we said, but you don't have to worry about, we won't be using that because the SAT, the College Board, is including those with our SAT, but they're not really just including them, we're paying for them on top of whatever the state is paying for the other.
The College Board provides free practice to anybody. My 8th grader practices for the SAT right now, even though he's never taken exams. The PSAT allows students to experience what the SAT is going to be like. And it provides data to the school to make educational decisions for their students, individually and then within groups. So in the past, RPS, 205, and other districts have administered retired ACTs. And that was the same purpose. The retired ACT would be administered, paper-based, results would come back, they would go through an analysis to make sure we were doing the appropriate preparation activities in group settings, in classrooms, bell ringers before the class started. The College Board, with the contract with the state, has unveiled the new SAT, which allows for you to take the assessment, the PSAT, and receive the same data and also receive personalized information based on the students and what they have scored. So it's similar to what we've done in the past in terms of our bell ringers and the retired ACTs, but since the SAT is brand new, there aren't really any retired SATs to administer anymore, at least not at this point. So we're bringing this to the board so we can have our students experience the SAT before they take the SAT.
And this will be given during the school day, and all students will be required, and will there be makeups?
There will. So on October 19th is the only day we can minister the PSAT within the school day as per the College Board, because that's the date set for the PSAT 10/National Merit Scholar Qualifying Test. And we would like to provide that to our students so they can qualify for National Merit Scholar money if scores would indicate that. There will be a makeup session held a week later, but it's for students to take during the school day for all the 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. 8th graders then will take it at the end of November as part of their entrance into high school.
I'm going to ask, and so on the 27th, we'll vote on this, and then you'll know, in terms of a timeliness, because the 19th is the date you're saying that they'll all be taken. In the past, as a board member, I've heard a lot of conversation about the testing conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm hoping that there's a group that's meeting with, students, principals, and everybody to make the environment the best possible as compared to being in a big gym with a lot of noise and distraction, so that our students really can perform at their highest level. And so every year I hear it, and I'm hoping that we're working our way toward a better environment, but is that something that is being
So they had
considered?
discussions with high school administrators about the testing conditions and where we would have these tests held in the fall. We also discussed the SAT in the spring already and how to make those conditions ideal for students while also maintaining the regulations of the College Board. AP exams fall within the same domain. AP exams that are held in the high schools require a certain amount of distance per student and a certain number of proctors per students, and those have been conversations since July. So once we have that firmly in place, we'll make sure we have the ideal testing conditions. It's a lot of students to test, so it's a lot of conversations about locations and proctors and how we're going to accommodate the students' needs.
And it's not a new problem, but since it's a new experience this year for you and
No, it's a
your
problem that was
oversight.
brought to my attention right away.
All right, thank you. All right, that'll come back to us on the 27th. The other, Mr. Zediker is going to present our next item, and that's the TSA Consulting Group Administrative Services Agreement, new renewal contracts. Mr. Zediker?
Yeah, my senior benefits manager is Christine Harnett. She'll present the information on this.
Good evening. Hi. In reviewing our current contracts, we discovered that we never received the 116 renewal for TSA Consulting, which is our administrator for our 403B plan. We contacted them right away and got that in July. When I submitted it to board, we then discovered that we evidently had never submitted the January 2014 Administrative Services Agreement, nor the January 1 of 15 renewal contract. So we're here to get all of those approved this evening so we can get back on track.
So, in the meantime, what happens?
The prior benefits manager had signed off on the contracts, and of course, services have already been provided pursuant to those contract terms. What we're really doing here is cleanup work and making sure that the board then, and moving forward, the board does review and approve the contracts, but this is essentially cleanup.
Any other questions? No. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
Mr. Beeling, you're on for our next item, which is the Larson and Darby recommendation on approval of the contract for the rigging and stage curtain design, theatrical rigging and stage curtain.
Thank you and good evening. In your packet, you have a contract for Larson and Darby. This is to follow up and expand upon the work we did at the Auditoria at East Guilford and Jefferson. During the course of those projects, we had the theatrical rigging inspected for deficiencies, and then we need to do the same inspection at Auburn and then replace the stage curtains at Auburn. Also, we need to do the inspections and the design documents for rigging and stage curtains at 4 of our middle schools, which would be Flynn, Kennedy, Lincoln, and West. And this is a satisfactory relationship with Larson and Darby, and they have obviously the recent experience with our auditoria at the 3 high schools that we did do a couple of years ago. So.
Anybody have any questions? Is there an age on curtains? I mean, is there a cycle?
The curtains are part of the some of the very last items that we have on the 10-year life safety program.
So this is all covered under life safety?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Escobedo?
So this is a sole source, all right. So there's no competitive bid for
Not for design services under the Illinois compiled statutes for professional services such as engineering and architecture. It's based on qualification-based selection, which means you have to do an RFQ, or if you already have a satisfactory relationship with a professional design firm, then you negotiate a price for the work that you need done.
All right, that'll come back at our next meeting for a vote. Thank you for your
Thank you.
time. Dr. Wolf? Dr. Wolf is going to present the contracts with Fierce Conversation for Services and Products.
Thank you. We are asking for you to approve a contract for $49,360 that would be covered by Title II grant dollars for professional development. It would provide training for another 40 of our staff members. It would also provide for the materials, and maybe most importantly, it would provide certification for 6 of our staff members to become in-house trainers for Fierce, so that we could continue to educate and inculcate good, strong values and these conversation protocols within our staff without bringing in the external consultants multiple times. We think that it's a valuable program, as we had it for 2 days with 40 individuals, teachers and administrators, and Ms. Granite at the REA and Mr. Schroeder, our Chief Academic Officer, were asked to develop a plan to do more of that training, and so they developed that plan, and we bring that contract for you.
Any questions, discussion? No? Seeing none, we thank you again, Dr. Wolf. Our last 6 items we're going to present as a group. I'll have Mr. Schmidt do so. And they're all real estate purchases that'll come back to us at the next meeting.
Yes, item G is for a real estate purchase at Lincoln Middle School for green space expansion that's included in the facilities master plan. H, I, and J are for the new school at Kishwaukee that's included in the facilities master plan for building the new school. And then K and L on Winnebago Street are Haskell Elementary School. As we look at it, there's some vacant lots out there as we have some future site work development for parking lot reconstruction, and for some security reasons, we're looking at purchasing those 2 vacant parcels.
Any board members have questions or comments on this? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Schmidt. If there are no further comments or agenda recommendations, I can take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You can just hang out. All right, thank you, everyone.